Hey, good morning, everyone. So sometimes it's good to have your own junkyard. I needed this one little piece for this pickup truck on the inside, and I cannot find it anywhere. Nobody has it. So I went searching through the junkyard, and I needed a vehicle that didn't have an airbag for this. The horn doesn't work. And on the GM, for a period of time, they used this little wire that was spring-loaded to hit the contact point. And for some reason, it's missing in this guy's pickup truck that's on the inside. He wanted us to fix the horn. I don't know if he just bought it or whatever. So, of course, I called around. Dorman used to make one. Apparently they still do, but nobody's got it. Absolutely nobody has it. So I went out into our field here just looking at different vehicles. I remembered that I had this van off in the corner. This one here. A few people had asked about this. I had shown pictures of this a while back. It's actually rotted. The other side, which I'm not going to get to, is actually caved in. So it's just junk. But anyway, so here I went and I took the horn pad out, and kind of interesting to see what they do. That's factory, believe it or not. That junk there, whatever that is. I guess it's a spacer or something to hold the horn back. But anyway, this is the piece that I needed. This one wire. This one wire goes into a little receiver piece here. And what happens is, if you look, it spring loads down, and then you have that little tab right there. That little tab is what hooks. Let me see if I can focus on that. That little tab is what hooks and allows it to lock in place. So then the end of this is a contact, and that contact hits a plate that sits down behind the steering wheel. So this is the only thing that is missing. And this wire actually will then go up to the horn pad, and the horn pad is what completes the contact. So basically, I got to walk through mud and everything else to get out of here. So basically, once I hook this back in place and I make sure that the actual pad itself is grounded, then the horn should work. Because I found if I stuck a little screwdriver down the hole where this is supposed to go, where this little spring-loaded contact is supposed to go, the horn does honk. So that tells me it's just missing whatever it's supposed to have up top. So let me get back over to the shop. We're full of mosquitoes here too. Let me get back over to the shop and get this hooked up and see what happens. All right, so I'm back up to the vehicle, and I realized I had another problem. The receiving part that takes this is actually broken. I didn't realize it at first, but it's actually broken. I already popped the steering wheel off, and I didn't even think about it. It's really not a big deal. It's just a center nut, and then one thing you can do is hold the steering wheel back and have somebody smack the center of the steering shaft, with the drift. Usually that'll work. I used a small puller. It came right off. It's not a big deal. As long as you have like a bolt, any kind of like a bolt style puller, you can get it off. It's really no big deal. But what I want to show you is this. Now down below in the column, this is the piece here. Now this actually will insert in like this, and there's supposed to be a locking tab where this goes in, kind of like a older style light bulb, and that'll snap in and rotate and lock in place. Now you have to get this steel plate off. This is basically the steering wheel lock. You can see there, that's the actual lock pin to lock the steering wheel. So when you go to rotate this, how you turn it, and all of a sudden you get lock, it'll like snap and lock, and it'll be stuck in that position. Well, when you turn the key, watch that pin. See how it goes away? And then it comes back out. It's spring loaded. So there, now it's locked in place. But I got to get this steel plate off. How do you get that off? Well, if you look closely down below inside there, you'll actually see a snap ring in the recess there. So you have to press this plate down. Now you could do it with your fingers if you had a buddy. It's a pain though, trying to do that. I have this tool. It's actually a puller. It's a combination puller lock. That's called a lock plate depressor. I've had this thing for I can't tell you how many years. And you can look at the rust on it. The last time I used this was probably 25 years ago. This is like one of the first tools I bought when I started off as a mechanic, meaning first tools I bought from the Snap-on dealer. When I first started, I had a Craftsman set, and then I found somebody selling a used Snap-on set, so I had bought that. But this, I was doing a lot of steering column work, especially tilt columns. They had an issue with the pins that allow it to tilt. They would back off, and like the whole column would get loose. This one's not like that. This one's nice and tight. But I wound up doing a lot of steering column work, and I was using this tool constantly because I was borrowing it from somebody, and I realized, I need to have this tool. So I bought it. I couldn't even for the life of you tell me how much I paid for it. Couldn't tell you. But let me show you how this thing actually works, and it's pretty neat. So you got these collars that have to go over. Now I'm not sure which one it is, and basically it goes over the end, and it'll screw onto these threads here. Okay, so this is the right one. And it'll screw all the way down to the end, and it'll close up that gap right at the end there. Now the nice thing about that is it's flush with that shaft. So now when you do release this, the clip, it'll actually slide all the way up if you wanted it to, or putting it on, same thing, if you needed it to. Usually just get it up a little bit, take the tool off, and then you can get the clip out. But now what you do is you take this piece, you put it over top, and then there's a collet that goes in here and screws in. Like I said, this is bringing back a lot of memories. It's been years since I've used this thing. It's kind of nice to remember that I actually had it. So now, you know, just like any old puller or whatever, you just tighten down on it, and what it does is it pushes the lock plate away from the clip. There's a pretty heavy spring behind there. So now, to get, you see how far away that is now? Now to get that out, I have to take a pick. And let me grab a pick, hang on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pick. I'm going to go down inside there, or there, and I'm going to lift it up, and then I have to work the thing upward. I can't film this at the same time, unfortunately. Like I said, by myself, to even try to get my little tripod to angle onto this so you can watch me do it, it'd be an unbelievable pain. But basically you get the gist of it. I have to get underneath there, lift that up just like that, and get another screwdriver or something behind it over here to push it up this way. So once I get it up this way, then I can release it. So I'll show you once it's up and out of the way. So there you see, I got it out of the retainer groove. So now what I'm going to do is just back off on the tool. Back up here. Just back off on the tool and let the plate come up. Of course, the tool is actually an American size, and I grabbed metric, but I have a 14, so it's close enough. Because it should be a 9/16. So you can actually see the tool itself is backing off, which is no big deal. So there's a pretty strong spring in there, but that spring will, or is not, it's not super long. So once this thing releases, it'll just relax. And there it goes. I'm actually, let's see. I thought I could get it with my fingers. And there it goes. Come on. All right. So now, that comes off of there like that. So now you can take the plate, you work the plate up. So there, the clip comes off. Take the clip, put it in a safe spot so you don't lose it. And now this plate comes off. This is the locking plate. Remember how it goes in place. So set that at the side. So now this is the piece here. This is the horn contact. That's the actual horn contact there. And this rubs up against it. So it allows it to have contact the whole time. So now the parts store actually has this in stock. So I should have this up here in a few minutes. And then we'll get this all together. All right, so I got the part. They actually call it a turn signal cam. Let me show you. Now the reason for it has these two little cams here that make contact with these springs here to knock this thing back into place as it rotates. So as you see here, that spring-loaded piece, the contact actually fits right in there and locks in place, kind of like a 1157 light bulb, basically, or 1156. So now this is going to go on just like that. And then I'm going to put that lock plate on, and then basically I'm just going to, like I always say, reverse procedure to install. Now if you're wondering, here it is. It's a Dorman 83232. So let me get this. Let me shut the light off for a second. 83232. So that's really all it is. So now, you put the lock plate over that, and you get everything else in. So just throw that over there. Sorry for that distraction. And now this is going to go over, and this is also, if you look, it's actually splined, so it's going to lock itself into place. So let me get all of this together, and then if I run across anything odd, I'll show you that. Oh, so one thing I did want to point out, if you look, this thing has a master spline to it. You see it right on the top there, and it fits in on the top there. See, it's like missing a groove, so that's where it fits in. So this way everything's in the right spot. This way when you turn the wheels, it shuts the turn signal off at the right point and everything else. So let me get this together. Now with that in place, and like I said, this is locked on that master spline and on any other splines too. I'm going to take the collar and stick it down over, and now as I start to thread that on, you see it actually starts to force the clip down. So you just kind of have to seat everything, there it goes, and get it to go down. So now when it's going down, now I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to start to push that down, and then I'm going to take the rest of the tool and depress this down past the locking ring. So this thing will go all back into place nicely. Now one thing of note is there's the locking pin that'll come out and hit these. You don't have to worry about it because it's spring loaded. So it doesn't have to be lined up to one of these grooves in order for this thing to go back together. That will push down, and then once you cut the wheels one way or the other, then it'll pop out and lock. So no need to worry about that there. And as you see, I got the tool going in place. So now I'm going to start tightening down on this, and I can get the receiver groove to show up, so then this way I can get the clip in the right spot. With that pushed down and the receiver groove exposed. Now also the reason for using this is the center of the steering column will actually, the shaft itself will push down. So you want to have the tool to pull the shaft up and these pieces to push the plate down to expose it, because like I said, otherwise that whole thing will push down and it's a real pain in the neck. You can do it, I've seen people do it, it's just a pain. So with this, you work the clip down into place. It's kind of hard to do it single-handedly, but let's get this down. There we go. Now it's in place. Now I can back off on a tool and that will lock that clip in place. Let me see if I can show you. There it goes. So now the tool is free and it locked it in place. So now I can just take this off. Sometimes it'll stick itself on there and then you gotta grab it with something to get off. So there it goes. It's all in place. So now I can, like I always say, reverse procedure to install. And just so you can see it, oh, I did put a new end on that. But just so you can see it, this goes in and this is going to lock like that. So then when this makes contact with ground, the horn works. Oop. Okay, so now I'm going to take that out for now so I can stick the steering wheel and everything else on. So there we go, the steering wheel's in place. That piece is hooked up. It's got a slot in the steering wheel just so it fits through. And see, it'll work once that's hooked up. So now what I'm going to do is just put the nut back on there, tighten that up. It also has this locking clip just as a safety. It goes over the end in case the nut actually backs off. It'll keep the steering wheel from falling off. Never seen that happen, but I guess because this is not a locking type nut and it doesn't use any type of Loctite, I guess they do that just as a safety measure. So let's get this all together. All right, so there we go. Now this is going to tuck in there and lock in place. I just realized this thing's got a broken locking tab there, so hopefully this is not going to be an issue. But this is actually the grounding point. So we're going to find out if this actually works. Let me get this in place. Tuck that in a little bit. There we go. Works just like I thought it would. And it's in place, it's secure. So, hope you got something out of that video. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Alright guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.